Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN AM for Tuesday, May 26th, 2020. Here are the top stories exposed by the crisis, a look at critical savings gaps, and what retirement planning might look like in the future. Well, joining me now is Harry D'Alessio. He is the head of institutional retirement plan services for Prudential Financial. Harry, thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeff. Really excited to connect with you today.
Yeah, it's great to speak with you. Before we jump in, how's the team at Prudential doing? You have associates all across the United States and really all across the globe. How's everyone doing in this very challenging time?
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for asking. Everybody's doing well. You know, I think from an overall company perspective, we've been around a long time, 145 years. So we've gone through a lot over those 145 years, although this is relatively unique, I think, for everybody, even thinking back to our history. But we went all virtual relatively quickly, staying engaged with our customers. And I think associates have really stepped up and gone above and beyond over the last couple of months as we all settle into this new normal, whatever it kind of is and comes. But overall, good. Appreciate you asking. And, we're continuing to move forward.
You know, we had a problem, I would say, describe it as a problem, kind of going into having people save. This kind of, in my mind, exacerbates that problem, really underscores the need for Americans to kind of diversify both in terms of investments, but in terms of their saving strategies. How are you all looking at it, and what are some of the gaps that you all are seeing?
As it relates to that, it definitely kind of exacerbated, the concept of short-term savings, mid-term savings, long-term savings overall. So 63, depending on the study, high 67, 68, 69% of Americans don't have $1,000, in their savings account. 63% don't have $500 to handle a common emergency, flat tire, car broke down, need a new washer, dryer, etc. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, as we go through these types of, economic cycles, and this one's unique because it's both a health and an economic cycle at the same time, it really puts a spotlight on where some of the challenges are as it relates to saving across each of those dimensions. So as we think about it at Prudential, a couple of years ago, we were the first to roll out an emergency savings vehicle, which was a sidecar essentially embedded in your defined contribution plan that you could save for emergencies through payroll deduction and a post-tax savings vehicle. And as we come out of this crisis, potentially, it's really going to put a spotlight on, and I think has put a spotlight on, the totality of the needs of individuals as they prepare for their financial journey, their financial wellness over the course of their lifetime. It's not just, I need to save for retirement. It's not just, I need to have an emergency savings account. I need to save for a college education. I need to pay down debt, etc. The last several years, the confluence of events and the holistic view around an individual's financial life has really kind of come to bear. And as we go through this type of market environment, it certainly puts a spotlight on the need to be well prepared for your long-term savings and retirement destination that you want to get to, as well as how do I save for short-term needs, emergencies, both positive, negative, that I don't have to kind of tap into my retirement account when the need arises as it relates to overall cash flow. So emergency savings has gotten a lot of attention over the last 2 months, as well as a whole host of other areas that we could kind of get into as the conversation goes along.
Yeah. So Harry, the CARES Act really it just seems, and I just want to go back. It seems like a year ago that we were talking about the Secure Act, right? And that was like the big story going into January, at least when it comes to retirement and savings. Now we're fast forwarding to the CARES Act, and I would agree with exactly what you're saying, which is Many Americans now focus on the here and now. They're putting food on their tables. They're providing for their families. How do you handle all that? That's really the most important thing to them. They're not even thinking about the long term. And it seems to me exactly what you're saying, which is the retirement plan vehicle has to be more than just that. It has to be more than a retirement plan vehicle. It has to encompass all these things to be your one-stop shop when it comes to all facets of your life. How have employers responded to this message, to what's going on? You guys are out there, you and the team are out there talking to so many employers, government, public sector, 403B, not-for-profit, healthcare, et cetera, corporate. How are they reacting on this? Because they're trying to keep the lights on.
I think you're exactly right. First and foremost, similar to what we're doing, they're caring for their employees first. They're thinking about their customers second, and then everything else kind of comes third overall. So many of the conversations we've had with our clients has really been, they've been all hands on deck, certainly depending on what industry they're in, as it relates to helping protect and support their employees, as well as supporting their customers, and then thinking in terms of where their business goes from here and what's the next step on their journey, given there's certainly plenty of challenges that organizations are facing today. A number of the conversations we've had recently have been very, very interesting from the standpoint of our industry has been very slow to keep pace with really the consumerization of the economy. So you think about all the personal sites you go to, retail sites, et cetera, 1-2 clicks, paperless, intuitive, et cetera. And the retirement industry in a lot of places is still kind of paper-driven, some manual processes, fulfillment face-to-face versus digital. So we've heard a few things from customers. One, the need to collect more email addresses and mobile numbers so we could communicate with their employees via mobile or via email, direction, which is far greater than, where many were willing to go a few months ago. The second is far more paperless than what it was like before, given certainly the environment we're in. Many people don't want to kind of touch or open up their mail for obvious reasons. I think third is, how do we expand the platform as it relates to financial wellness for our employees? So if you go back 5 years ago, everything was siloed. I had my 401k plan, I had my savings account, I had a student loan, I was saving for college education, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we thought about that and worked with a lot of our employers as well on, here's our silo, here's our swim lane that we're working in. We are focused on getting people to save for retirement through their workplace plan. Now there's a recognition, both with the confluence of financial wellness gaining more and more attention over the last few years, and we've been a big driver of that at Prudential, but also second, going through the financial crisis in COVID has created a confluence of events where customers are now recognizing, I need to help my employees solve for many of their financial opportunities and challenges that are in front of them at the workplace, because they trust their employer, they trust through the workplace. And that's where we see the packaging of, student loan assistance, debt management counseling, one-on-one financial counseling with, obviously saving for retirement, emergency savings as it relates to more short-term. So many employers across all the spectrums that you described, both, government entities, 403B, for-profit, not-for-profit healthcare, as well as, varying industries in the corporate market, all are focused on, how do I improve my employees' holistic financial well-being through the workplace, because we're best suited to put that offering together, and who could I work with to do that? So I think that's an immediate discussion that's happening. The momentum was building, and I think coming out of this, there will be much more attention as it relates to it, because you've probably seen these stats that, if a majority of your employees are spending 1 to 2 hours a week and some, an hour a day focused on financial stress, it impacts health and welfare, it impacts productivity on the job, it impacts engagement. The downstream effects are massive, and many retirement plan sponsors are really looking at much of the behavioral health research and studies that have come through the retirement industry to really leverage that to help make their workforce more productive in a whole host of ways. And that's exciting. For me personally, having been in this industry for a long time, the transformation that's happening in the retirement industry, the transformation that's happening as it relates to this financial wellness, holistic well-being of employees is the most exciting that I've seen. And I think the potential is huge. And I think we're just scratching the surface, and will have a real bottom line impact both on individual employees, which translates to families, which translates to community, society, and certainly their employers along the way. So, many exciting things happening in a certainly challenging environment.
Yeah, well, times, they certainly are changing. Harry, I want to go to a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk more about the changing paradigm, for lack of a better term, in the financial services industry and the retirement planning industry. So stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
The windows on our homes, they protect us and the ones we love, but they do much more. At Renewal by Andersen, making your home more comfortable is at the center of every window we make. It's why we custom build our windows in America and install them in as little as 1 day. It's why we build our frames with exclusive Fibrex composite material that's 2 times stronger than vinyl. It's why our glass helps keep your home warmer in winter, cooler in summer, and quieter all year long. It's why we stand behind every window with a 20-year limited warranty. Why not help lower your energy costs while giving your home and family the best? Call 1-800-835-6525 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer. Plus, get special financing with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 1 full year. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Call 1-800-835-6525 now.
Welcome back. We're talking to Harry D'Alessio. He is the head of institutional retirement plan services for Prudential Financial. Harry, thanks so much for sticking around with us this morning.
Oh, happy to be here. Enjoying the conversation.
It's a great conversation. And when we went to break, we talked about this huge paradigm shift, the huge opportunity to really engage people and to have a transformative impact. One thing I wanted to ask you about before we talk more about that is we just had, issuance of regulations around the electronic distribution of information. And that seems to be a really potential key driver of what you're describing. That has the potential in terms of reaching people. Now you can reach people through email, through text, all the things you were describing in our first segment.
I think it's a really exciting opportunity, and and we were thrilled to see the progression, of that, of the thinking as it relates to more electronic fulfillment. We're living in a digital age. We all have a mobile phone. People are on their phones all day and transacting and interacting in a much more mobile, paperless way, when they want to, how they want to, and in the depth they want to. So I think this will be a big step to allow the industry to engage participants and our clients' employees and membership, in a much more digital way, which, if you think about it, we kind of have a tailwind as it relates to this. It's what people want. It's how they want to interact in large part. And I think the regulatory environment, kind of staying pace with that, I think will be extremely helpful and really open up a lot of possibilities for how we could create deeper engagement with employees and participants and members to really drive best-in-class outcomes over time, which is certainly a goal of Prudential and certainly a goal of the retirement industry in general.
So many people now, and we're talking on Skype, but people are using Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meets. I mean, I don't want to leave anybody out, FaceTime. But that doesn't mean that people don't want the face-to-face. So it's really offering people a panoply, a plethora of different ways that they want to interact, right? Some people may want to watch video. Some people may want to listen to audio. They may want to do a Skype call. They may want to meet one-on-one with a mask, of course, and protected. Is that, it's kind of a hybrid model, right, Harry? That's what people, service providers and people are clamoring to provide.
I think so. I think it's a hybrid, and the current environment is certainly pushing individuals and organizations forward as it relates to more digital engagement. Our industry has been a lot of face-to-face, other than calling into a call center. So much has been predicated on face-to-face employee education meetings, face-to-face board meetings, committee meetings, et cetera. And the last 8-10 weeks, obviously, there's been a lot more digital. And to your comment around all the different ways to connect virtually and via video is sometimes the most interesting part of my day, going through the 6 different ways that you could connect, and every group using something different. It certainly creates some fun along the way. But I think where this leads to is much more openness to both in-person and virtual engagement. And I'll kind of give you an interesting stat. Much of our employee education engagement is face-to-face through group meetings, one-on-one meetings, on-site, kind of dedicated retirement counselors at some clients who would like that. And, as we think about more just general kind of virtual engagement, so the individuals who would typically participate in a group meeting and may not have had the option for a one-on-one, in April, we did, 6,400 virtual one-on-one meetings with 401k participants. Wow. And in February, that was maybe like 220. So maybe 300, somewhere in that range. So just thinking about that, where it comes out, and I can't predict the future, but you would think there would be a balanced approach likely, which, they'll be in person kind of at the right time. People will want one-on-one. More people will be open to virtual. And that's just not in the retirement industry. I saw a commercial last night around, you could go to a virtual doctor right now if you don't want to leave your house, which has been emerging over the last few years as well. And it'll be across that continuum. I think the good news is we are putting individuals in a position to engage us how and when they want to, versus more prescriptive manner. You want one-on-one in person, it's available. You want to talk via phone, it's available. You want to do a one-on-one virtual meeting, it's available. I think that is a real exciting part of our industry. that will really create, I think, deeper relationships over time. As much as we all love face-to-face and in person, sometimes it's hard to schedule. You think of travel, you think of all the things that come into that. We're literally now, tomorrow between 12 and 12:30, I have free time. I don't have to drive or go anywhere. I could optimize that 30 minutes. I could talk to a counselor, get all of my questions answered, and move on. I think, I think we're entering an age of really kind of a new beginning and new possibilities as it relates to that. And it's exciting, but everybody wants it a little different. And we need to ensure that we serve millions of individuals. So certainly there's a good cross-reference there. And we need to be in a position to serve them, when and how they want, and through the vehicles they would like to. But I think this will be a big change for the industry, where more and more will be done virtually versus, having to get on a plane or drive or do what people do to go to various meetings. Not going to replace in person, but I think it'll be a good balance. And I think that will allow for more familiarity and I think actually deeper engagement over time and deep relationships.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think there is that tailwind, and it's nice to see. I think that the financial services industry has been very conservative over time. Last question, Harry, and I've got about 2 minutes left.
Sure.
Let's talk about some of these other technologies, artificial intelligence, predictive analytics, things that you can use to make and customize, for example, how you assist a participant or how you help an employee with their student loan or trying to prioritize their asset allocation. Do you see more of these types of technologies being embedded in the services you provide and also bolted on to these types of programs?
Short answer is we do. I think as we come out of this crisis, a view that's emerging is, one, defined contributions weren't intended to be the primary retirement vehicle for U.S. workers. They are. Second, we call defined contribution plans retirement plans. In a lot of cases, they are savings plans. And I think as an industry, we need to step back and look, what are the best practices, best attributes that we could put around these plans to turn them into truly retirement plans? And by that, you think in terms of paycheck in retirement, like a pension plan. So plan design is going to be more and more important going forward. Mm-hmm. I think to your exact point, financial wellness and being able to engage in a very scalable way around multiple life events that an individual will have, expanding the narrative and the services beyond just retirement to touch on student loan, debt, et cetera. All of that will have to be integrated in a way and is already happening on our platform. And many of what you described, we already have an offer, but that will continue to emerge. And then I think finally, people want that paycheck in retirement. So I think as we come out of this, it's the second financial crisis in the last 10, 12 years. If you were within 5 years of retiring, just retired, that's a tough spot to be in, whether it was 2008, 2009, 2010, or today. What can we be doing as an industry to help smooth some of that market volatility as you get within the 5 years before retirement, the 5 years after retirement, because that becomes really personal. That's not a stat. That's not, 5 in 100 will be impacted. Those 5 need to make sure they're in the best position possible along the way. And I think that we see those questions coming in from advisors and clients already. And I think going forward, there's a big opportunity, I think, on all of those dimensions. And in some ways, AI, much more digital, leveraging robotics will all come into play to help scale the interactions we have with both plan sponsors, but probably even greater volumes with individuals. And I think that's where much of the AI robotics kind of what's that next best decision I need to make as an individual with the very scarce dollar I have to invest, save, draw down debt, et cetera. I think all of that will play out. But we think the psychology is going to change from this crisis. That coupled, you have the Secure Act, you have the CARES Act, you have the psychology of this financial and health pandemic crisis that we're in. You have DC plans as the primary retirement vehicle. It's really a confluence of events for us to step back as an industry and as plan sponsors and say, what else can we be doing to help? And I think there's a long list of what we know we need to do. And what's really exciting is I think that's the next decade for us to really transform the retirement industry to really be much more holistic from a financial wellness standpoint and really get at those needs in a much different, bolder way. And I think that's on all of us to help drive that.
Absolutely. Well, it looks like the times, they are changing, at least according to Bob Dylan, but it seems like the tea leaves are all saying that. Harry, always a pleasure talking with you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program, and we look forward to having you back very soon. Yeah, likewise, Jeff. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Be safe and look forward to talking to you soon. And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest or someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, and so much more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Attention! The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has officially authorized new benefits that Medicare Advantage plans may include. To get the benefits you deserve, you can call the Medicare Coverage Helpline.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline and they instantly looked up my coverage. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost.
Don't delay. Call to see if the new benefits are available in your area.
Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-757-1451. That's 1-800-757-1451.